You know what hurts more than enemy fire? Getting a lawyer's letter while you're sitting in a tent in Kandahar, telling you that your own father has written you out of his will. Not because you did something wrong, but because you chose to serve your country. My name is Captain Jessica Morgan, and I'm an Air Force pilot. Or at least, I was. 6 years ago, I was living my dream, flying C-130 transport missions over Afghanistan, bringing supplies to our troops on the ground, and evacuating the wounded. I loved every second of it, even the dangerous ones. Especially the dangerous ones. But back home, while I was risking my life for my country, my family was falling apart. And I didn't even know it. See, I came from what you'd call old money. My father, Robert Morgan, built a real estate empire worth over $40 million. My younger brother, Trevor, was being groomed to take over the family business from the day he could walk. He went to business school, wore expensive suits, played golf with investors, and did everything Dad ever asked him to do. Me? I wanted to fly. Growing up, I was never the daughter my father wanted. He wanted someone who'd marry well, maybe work in the family business doing PR or interior design for the properties. Something feminine, something safe, something that wouldn't embarrass him at the country club. Instead, I joined the Air Force ROTC in college. I'll never forget the day I told him, "Dad, I got accepted into flight training. I'm going to be a pilot." He put down his whiskey glass and looked at me like I just told him I was running away to join the circus. "Jessica, don't be ridiculous. Women don't belong in combat zones. You're going to get yourself killed doing something foolish, trying to prove some feminist point. It's not about feminism, Dad. It's about service. It's about being part of something bigger than myself." He scoffed. "You want to be part of something bigger? Work for the company. Build something that lasts. This military fantasy of yours is just going to get you hurt." But I didn't listen. I couldn't. The moment I took my first flight during training, I knew I'd found my calling. The feeling of being up there, thousands of feet above the earth, responsible for a multi-million-dollar aircraft and the lives of everyone on board, it was like nothing else in the world. I graduated top of my class. Got my wings. Got assigned to my squadron. And Dad didn't come to a single ceremony. My mother, God rest her soul, she was different. She came to everything. She was so proud, even though she was terrified every time I deployed. She passed away from cancer just 6 months before my first deployment to Afghanistan. Losing her was the hardest thing I'd ever experienced. She was my anchor, my supporter, the one person in my family who truly got me. After she died, things with Dad got worse. Way worse. My deployment to Afghanistan started in March 2021. I was stationed at Bagram Airfield, flying supply missions and personnel transport throughout the country. It was dangerous work. The Taliban was gaining strength, and we were drawing down forces. Every flight felt like it could be your last. But I loved it. I loved my crew, I loved the mission, and I loved knowing that what I did mattered. When I brought medical supplies to a remote outpost, I was saving lives. When I evacuated wounded soldiers, I was bringing them home. That meant something. I tried to stay in touch with my family. Email was spotty, phone calls were rare, but I sent messages when I could. Dad never responded. Trevor would send short, awkward replies like "stay safe" or "cool." That was it. Then, 4 months into my deployment, I got an email from my father's lawyer. The subject line read, "Important family matter requires your attention." I opened it in the rec tent after a 16-hour day. I was exhausted, dirty, and just wanted to call it a night. Instead, I sat there, staring at my laptop screen, reading the words over and over again, trying to make them make sense. Dear Captain Morgan, I am writing to inform you that your father, Robert Morgan, has updated his will and estate planning documents. As per his instructions, you have been removed as a beneficiary. Your share of the estate has been reallocated to your brother, Trevor Morgan, and several charitable organizations. This decision was made in accordance with your father's wishes and is final. Should you wish to contest this decision, you may seek independent legal counsel. Sincerely, Howard Blackwell, Attorney at Law. I sat there for an hour, just staring at that email. Not crying. Not angry. Just numb. He'd actually done it. While I was thousands of miles away, putting my life on the line, my father had decided I wasn't worthy of being his daughter anymore. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I called Trevor using one of the precious satellite phone minutes we got each month. It was 3 a.m. his time, but I didn't care. Hello? He sounded groggy, annoyed. Trevor, it's Jess. Did you know about this? About Dad cutting me out? Silence. Long, guilty silence. Trevor, answer me. Look, Jess. Dad's been really angry since Mom died. He blames you. Blames me? For what? I wasn't even here when she got sick. Exactly. You weren't here. You were off playing soldier while Mom was dying. Those are his words, not mine. My blood ran cold. I was deployed. I couldn't just leave. And I came home on emergency leave twice during her treatment. I was there when my voice broke. I know, Jess. I know. But Dad, he's not thinking straight. He says you abandoned the family. That you care more about the military than your own flesh and blood. And honestly, Jess, can you blame him? You've been gone for years. You missed holidays, birthdays, family gatherings. What did you expect? I expected my family to support me. I expected my father to understand that serving my country is important. More important than your dying mother? That question hit me like a punch to the gut. We both knew it wasn't fair, but the damage was done. I can't believe you're taking his side on this. I'm not taking sides. I'm just telling you the reality. Dad's made up his mind. And honestly, maybe it's for the best. You clearly don't want to be part of this family anymore. Trevor. He hung up. I sat there in that tent, thousands of miles from home, completely alone. My mother was dead. My father hated me. My brother had turned his back on me. And I still had 6 months left on my deployment. The next few months were the hardest of my life. Not because of the missions, those were actually what kept me sane. When I was flying, I had a purpose. I had a job to do, people depending on me. It was the quiet moments that killed me. The times when I'd lie in my bunk and wonder if I'd made the wrong choice. Had I chosen the Air Force over my family? Had I abandoned them? But then I'd remember my mother's words, from the last real conversation we ever had. She was so weak, the cancer eating away at her, but she grabbed my hand with surprising strength. Jessica, baby, promise me something. Anything, Mom. Don't you dare let your father's bitterness steal your joy. You're doing something extraordinary. You're living your truth. I'm so proud of you, and I need you to keep flying. For me. For all the women who never got the chance. Promise me. I promise, Mom. I promise. So I kept flying. I flew every mission like it was my last. I flew with precision, with care, with pride. My crew knew something was wrong. I was quieter, more focused, almost cold. But I never told them. This was my burden to carry. Then, in September, everything changed. We got intelligence about a developing situation in Kabul. The final evacuations were happening, and it was chaos. Our squadron was tasked with flying non-stop missions to get American citizens, allies, and refugees out before the Taliban took complete control. I flew 73 hours in 5 days. 73 hours of loading desperate people onto my aircraft, hearing their stories, seeing the fear in their eyes, and promising them that they were going to make it to safety. On the last day, we were at the airport when gunfire broke out. The Taliban was closing in faster than expected. We had one more group to load, a family with 3 small children, an interpreter who'd worked with our forces for a decade, and an elderly woman who could barely walk. The situation was deteriorating fast. My co-pilot, Lieutenant Davis, was shouting that we needed to leave, that we were in danger of being overrun. But I looked at those children, and I saw my niece and nephew, Trevor's kids, who I'd barely met because I was always deployed. "We're not leaving them," I said. "Get them on board. Now." We loaded them in under hostile fire. My crew chief took a round through his vest. Thankfully his plate caught it, but we got everyone on board. As we lifted off, I saw Taliban fighters rushing the runway behind us. We made it. Everyone made it. When I finally rotated home in November, I was a different person. Harder. Stronger. More sure of myself than I'd ever been. I also came home to a media firestorm I didn't expect. Turns out, one of the families I evacuated was connected to a prominent journalist. She wrote a story about our rescue mission, complete with photos and interviews. The story went viral. Suddenly, I was being called a hero, getting interview requests, and the Air Force was putting me up for a medal. I didn't want any of it. I just wanted to see my family, even if they didn't want to see me. I drove to my father's estate, the massive house I'd grown up in, with its circular driveway and perfectly manicured lawn. Trevor's car was there. So was Dad's Bentley. I sat in my beat-up Honda Civic for 10 minutes, gathering courage, before I finally walked up to the door. I rang the doorbell. My father answered. He looked older. Grayer. Smaller, somehow. He stared at me like I was a ghost. Jessica. Hi, Dad. You're back. I'm back. An awkward silence stretched between us. Finally, he stepped aside. You should come in. The house looked the same, but felt different. Emptier. Mom's touch was fading, her photos, her decorations, the warmth she brought to every room. It was becoming Dad's house, cold and impersonal. Trevor was in the living room with his wife, Monica, and their 2 kids. They all looked shocked to see me in uniform. Jess. My niece, Lily, ran over and hugged my legs. She was 5 now, so much bigger than when I'd last seen her. You're the lady from TV. TV? I looked at Trevor. He had the decency to look embarrassed. You've been all over the news. That rescue mission. They're calling you a hero. I'm not a hero. I was just doing my job. Your job nearly got you killed, my father said sharply. That's exactly why he stopped himself. Why you what, Dad? Why you cut me out of your will? Why you decided I'm not part of this family anymore? Trevor stood up. Jess, maybe this isn't the right time. When would be the right time, Trevor? When I'm dead? When you can put flowers on my grave and pretend you actually cared? That's not fair, Dad said, his voice rising. You left us. You chose the military over your family. Your mother needed you, and you were off playing hero in some desert. Playing hero? My voice was dangerously quiet. Dad, I've evacuated hundreds of people. I've flown supplies to troops who would have died without them. I've done more good in 6 years than you've done in your entire life building overpriced condos. How dare you? How dare I? How dare you? You cut me out of your will while I was deployed in a combat zone. Do you have any idea what that did to me? I was already struggling with Mom's death, and then I get a lawyer's letter telling me my own father doesn't consider me his daughter anymore. The room went silent. Even the kids stopped playing. My father's face was red. You abandoned us. I served my country. The words came out like a roar. I did something meaningful with my life instead of just making money. And you punished me for it. You punished me for not being the perfect little daughter you wanted, who'd smile pretty and marry rich and never have a thought of her own. That's not. It is exactly what you wanted. And when I chose a different path, you wrote me off. Well, guess what, Dad? I don't need your money. I never did. I have a pension, I have benefits, I have a career that means something. But what I needed, what I deserved, was a father who was proud of me. Tears were streaming down my face now, and I didn't care. Mom was proud of me. She told me so. Even when she was dying, she told me to keep flying, to keep living my truth. And I have. I've made a difference in this world, and I don't regret a single choice I've made. My father sat down heavily in his chair. He looked old. Defeated. Your mother. His voice cracked. Your mother loved you so much. And when she died, I was so angry. Angry at God, angry at the cancer, angry at myself for not being able to save her. And I took it out on you because you weren't there. Because you were off living your life while mine was falling apart. I came home twice during her treatment. I was there when she passed. I know. I know you were. But in my grief, I convinced myself that if you'd been here more, if you'd been around, somehow it would have been different. That's not logical, I know that. But grief isn't logical. He looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. And then you deployed again, just 3 months after her funeral. You just left. And I thought you didn't care. That the military was more important to you than family. My deployment wasn't optional, Dad. I had orders. And yes, part of me was relieved to go, because being here without Mom was too painful. But I never stopped loving this family. Trevor spoke up. Jess, I'm sorry. I should have stood up for you. I should have told Dad he was being unreasonable. But I was grieving too, and it was easier to just go along with it. You took my inheritance. I didn't ask for it, he said quickly. Dad put it in my name, but I never felt right about it. I told him multiple times that he should reconsider, but he wouldn't listen. And yet you didn't refuse it. He looked ashamed. No. I didn't. And I'm sorry. My father stood up slowly. Jessica, I was wrong. I was angry and bitter, and I took it out on you. You didn't deserve that. You were living your life, pursuing your dreams, and I punished you for it because it wasn't the life I wanted for you. So what now? I asked. You want to rewrite the will? Suddenly I'm your daughter again because I'm in the news? No. His voice was firm. I want to rewrite the will because I've spent the last 6 months realizing what an old fool I've been. Because I watched you on television, evacuating families under fire, and I realized that you're doing exactly what your mother always knew you would do, something extraordinary. And instead of being proud, I was petty and cruel. He pulled out an envelope from his desk drawer. I had Howard draw up new documents 3 weeks ago. Everything's been restored. But more than that, I've established a trust in your mother's name. It'll fund scholarships for women pursuing military careers. Your mother would have loved that. I took the envelope with shaking hands. Dad, I don't know what to say. Say you'll give me a chance to be a better father. Say you'll come home more often, when you can. Say you'll let me be proud of you, even if I'm 6 years too late. We didn't hug. We weren't there yet. But we talked. 4 hours. We talked about Mom, about her final months, about all the things we should have said to each other but didn't. We talked about my deployment, the things I'd seen, the people I'd saved. Trevor showed me pictures of his kids growing up, all the moments I'd missed. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't some movie moment where everything was instantly fixed. But it was a start. Before I left that night, my father stopped me at the door. Jessica, your mother left you something. I was supposed to give it to you, but I was too angry. I held on to it. He handed me a small box. She made me promise to give this to you after your first deployment. She knew you'd need it. Inside was my mother's gold locket, the one she wore every day. Inside were 2 pictures, one of her and me at my commissioning ceremony, both of us crying happy tears, and one of our whole family from years ago, when things were simpler. On a small card in her handwriting, it read, "My darling Jessica, you are my greatest pride and joy. Fly high, live boldly, love fiercely. No matter what happens, know that I believe in you. And when the world tries to clip your wings, remember, you were born to soar. All my love, always, Mom." I lost it. Right there in the doorway, I broke down sobbing. My father, this man who'd been so cold, so distant, put his arms around me and held me while I cried. "She was so proud of you," he whispered. And I should have been too. The next few months were a journey. I stayed in the Air Force, got promoted, and continued flying missions. But I made more of an effort to come home when I could. Dad came to my promotion ceremony. He brought Trevor and the whole family. When they pinned my major's leaves on, I saw tears in my father's eyes. The scholarship fund in Mom's name has helped 12 young women pursue military careers so far. One of them sent me a letter telling me that she wouldn't have been able to afford flight school without it. She's graduating next spring. Trevor and I rebuilt our relationship slowly. He admitted that he'd always been jealous of how close Mom and I were, and that when she died, he didn't know how to process the grief except by pushing me away. We're working on it. His kids think I'm the coolest aunt ever, which helps. As for Dad, he's trying. He asks about my missions now, actually listens when I talk about my work. He's even started volunteering with veteran organizations, trying to understand the world I'm part of. It's not perfect, but it's real. Here's what I learned from all of this: family is complicated. Grief makes people do terrible things. And sometimes, the people who hurt you the most are the ones who love you, they just don't know how to show it. But I also learned that standing up for yourself is worth it. I could have left the Air Force, come home, tried to win my father's approval by being the daughter he wanted. But I would have been miserable. I would have lost myself. Instead, I stayed true to who I am. I kept flying. I kept serving. And eventually, my family came around. Not because I changed, but because they did. If you're in a situation like I was, if you're being pressured to give up your dreams, your career, your identity because someone else doesn't approve, hear me when I say this, don't give up. Don't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Live your truth, chase your dreams, and the people who truly love you will eventually see your light. And if they don't, that's their loss, not yours. My mother used to say that the bravest thing you can do is live authentically in a world that's constantly trying to reshape you. She was right. Being cut out of my father's will while I was deployed was one of the most painful experiences of my life. But it also showed me who I really am, someone who doesn't need validation from a bank account to know her worth. I'm Captain Jessica Morgan. I'm an Air Force pilot. I've saved lives, flown into danger, and served my country with pride. And no will, no inheritance, no family drama will ever take that away from me. Your value isn't determined by what others think of you. It's determined by who you choose to be when no one's watching. Stay strong. Keep flying. And never, ever apologize for being exactly who you're meant to be.